Generational. Sean here, thinking now for tomorrow with John Sowers from the Mentoring Project. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited about what you guys are doing at Think.
I love it. We are too. So we're going to be talking about your book. We're going to be talking about what you're doing. And so first off, man, you wrote a book called The Fatherless Generation, and that even kind of ties together with the Mentoring Project. Tell us about it.
Well, Fatherless Generation is really a story that's born really in my heart as well as in the heart of a generation. A few years ago when I began struggling and wrestling through the issue of fatherlessness in my own life, I began asking the question, how is fatherlessness affecting our generation? And so I began listening. That's a good place to begin. And I began listening to the culture. I began to see it in TV shows and movies. You know, I talk about the movie Elf, how Buddy leaves the candy cane forest and says goodbye to Arctic Puffin and Mr. Narwhal. He goes to great lengths to find his dad, walks to New York City. But when he finds his dad doesn't want anything to do with him. Eventually they reconcile, but that's kind of the story of our generation. We're like Buddy, who are desperately searching for dad. And so it's all over our pop culture, which I think is kind of a warped mirror of our lives, but a mirror nevertheless. And it's all over our stories and our blogs and in our songs. You hear these singers and you see these stories. And so I began wondering, okay, in this book, how is fatherlessness affecting our generation? And I started seeing it everywhere. So.
And then how does that, did that connect in with the Mentoring Project or speak to the Mentoring Project?
Yeah, so the book is something I started working on about 5 years ago for seminary, a paper. And part of the answer for the fatherless question, if fatherlessness is a question, there's a lot of different answers. So there's faithfulness of dads, which is an answer. There's adoption. There's foster care. There's a lot of different answers. For me, the answer in the book that I talk about is mentoring. It's something that, it's kind of a baseline that we can all do. And in fact, all of us are probably mentors in some way, whether we're intentional or not. But the Mentoring Project was kind of the answer to this question for me. It's like, okay, what if men from the church rose up all over this country and all over the world, basically, and stepped into the lives of fatherless boys? What would happen? I began to think that because fatherlessness is such a relational issue, it's a relational wound, a relational pain, a rejection, it's a relational solution that we need. So if we can step into the lives of fatherless boys the same way that Christ steps into ours at the incarnation, we begin to see things happen. And in fact, a postmodern fatherless generation is never going to believe our gospel, the idea that God is Father, unless we step into their lives in a way and embody that.
Wow.
Attractional gospel Christianity is not enough, where the attractional idea of look how cool we are, or even, hey, this is a great thing happening, come.
Right.
It's great, and I love that, but it requires an incarnational stepping into the lives of these kids the same way, and that's the only way. It's not money. We can't throw money at it only. We can't, whatever.
Yeah.
It requires our lives, and so that's where the Mentoring Project is trying to answer the fatherless question.
Now, you use a phrase called sustainable mentoring communities. And so maybe someone watching this video, they're maybe in a smaller situation, a smaller church, a small community, a ministry situation, and they say, okay, this is touching my heart. I want to take some action steps. What do they do next to start being practical, moving towards activating this personally or even as a smaller group?
Yeah. There's a lot of next steps. Where are the kids that we want to reach? For our application at the Mentoring Project, we look at kids in the community. We see those kids kind of as an unreached people group. For some reason, it's easier for us to see kids in Africa as in need rather than the 13-year-old gang member that I was around a month ago in Oklahoma City that's just 2 miles across the river, And so where are the kids is the first action step. How do we want to mentor them is another. Do we go into the schools? Do we mentor them formally through the community? How is that going to look? And so we've kind of provided at the Mentoring Project resources for that. We have a toolkit that actually helps a church set up their own mentoring community. And so we can't necessarily manage all of it, and we understand that, but we're seeing churches take these resources. Last week I was at Q in Portland. The pastor came up to me from Cincinnati. I had no idea. He said, I bought your toolkit. We recruited mentors. We've got a church contact. We trained 15 mentors, and I've met with my kid twice. Wow. And I was like, I had no idea they even bought our toolkit. So what we created that toolkit to be kind of an all-in-one, here's how you promote it, train it, and sustain it. Yeah. This mentoring initiative. And so we're seeing churches do that. It's really exciting. So a whole denomination in New Zealand has bought the toolkit, and they're running with it. We sold one to Hillsongs in the UK, and they're doing Willow Creek, as well as a lot of local churches. Excuse me, a lot of local churches. And so that's something that's one of our offerings that we're really proud of in a good way, and something that can help somebody that wants to start an initiative, a mentoring initiative.
Love it, love it. Now, kind of switching gears a little bit, just to talk about you personally. Now, you're in Portland, right?
That's right, Portland.
And I actually have a quote here. It was said that it says that you're from Portland when today's forecast is showers followed by rain, and tomorrow is rain followed by showers, and that you think that people who use umbrellas are wimps. On a serious note, how do you combat severe depression? I mean, we're even in the Northwest.
Portland.
Yeah. From just the rain, and what are maybe some strategies to overcome just continuous rain and 4 days of sun a year?
I lived in LA for 7 years, and I lived in Malibu for 3 years. And so I don't have any strategies, actually. I just drink a lot of coffee, and so I'm open to any. That would be good blog comments from readers for suggestions, because I'm at a loss right now. It's the rain is winning in my life. It's defeating me.
That is awful. That, in fact, if you're watching this video, any kind of strategies, if you do comment, we maybe will be able to assimilate those and help people because it's anyways. All right. Lastly, then.
Can we talk about the rain some more? Is that okay? So J.R. Tolkien calls it the long defeat. You're kind of fighting the long defeat. It's like you're carrying the ring, and you don't ever embrace it, but you have to keep bearing the burden, And so, like, the rain is like fighting the long defeat. It's like the ring of power that you have to. Maybe that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Tolkien's so much better than Twilight,
That's true. I agree. Well,
maybe not according to some 14-year-old girls.
Right. You got a couple things coming up. One, I want to hear about what's going on in your city with what you're doing practically with something like 1,000 young people. Is that?
That's right. We've identified in Portland over 1,000 kids on waiting lists. And so these are kids that predominantly fatherless kids, predominantly 80% of those are boys, and whose single moms have signed up and said, we need help.
Yeah.
So we've said, what if the church just eliminated that waiting list? What if each one of those kids had a mentor? How might their lives be transformed? So on July 30th, we're launching the 1,000 Stories campaign, and we just confirmed yesterday with Coach Tony Dungy and Scott Frost, who played in the NFL, and he's one of the coaches for the Ducks. They're going to launch this for us on July 30th in Portland. And so we're really, really pushing. Our main focus is in Portland, even though we have some national conversations and international ones, is what would happen if we can eliminate this waiting list. Yeah. So we're working really, really hard to launch the 1,000 Stories campaign, and that's something that you'll be able to see on our website and see stories and see kids' lives being changed, and something that we're excited about.
Cool. And then one other thing, you guys have something coming up, Father's Day. What's going on?
So Father's Day is, as you know from many, maybe not a great thing. It's a great idea, and it's a biblical idea to honor your father, for sure. But if you go into a prison and you see how many prisoners are writing cards on Father's Day, it's less than 10%. I mean, most of them are not. On Mother's Day, they're busy. They're all writing cards. They're all sending stuff. Wow. They're all giving props to mom. On Father's Day, it's like silent. And I think this is because there is a rift, there's a tear between fathers and their children. And so one of the things we want to do on Father's Day is kind of shine a light on that, but in a celebratory way, and say, you know what, Father's Day doesn't have to be a day of mourning. It can actually be a day of celebration where people can help either by becoming mentored or by donating and saying, I want to support a mentor to mentor a kid. So this Father's Day, we're launching it's like a 2-day deal, and we're going to talk about the Great Dad Giveaway and how you can give a dad to a kid in need. And so that's going to be on our website, which is thementoringproject.org, and we're pumped about that too.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, John, thank you so much. If somebody watching wants to connect with you, blog, Twitter, what's going on?
Yeah, so my blog is on a site called fatherlessgeneration.com/blog. And they can connect to me there. They can email me on that. And then, Twitter, I'm just John Sowers at Twitter. I tried to do Twitter. About a year ago, I wasn't real sure about it, kind of as a bird, and it wasn't real. Yeah.
Within that, let me ask you this as kind of another personal question. If you had to get one of the social media platforms tattooed on your back, full back, just across full coverage, what platform would it be?
Yeah, for me, I think it would be the blog, just because I feel like this fatherless message is what's so important. Twitter is great, Facebook's great.
So the orange blog icon, though, is what I mean?
I probably would.
Okay.
I would get the blog icon because I want people to go and see the message. I had a conversation with Q at Q, not with Q. I guess Q was in Star Trek or something.
Yeah. Was he there?
Yeah, Q from Star Trek. No.
Was that Q?
Yeah, I think Q from Star Trek was there. No one saw him. But except for me, in my own mind, we had an imaginary conversation. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I had a conversation with a 10-year-old boy at Q, and we talked, and he told me why fatherless boys isolate themselves, why they get in fights. It was the most profound interview I had, a conversation I had in a room full of geniuses,
Yeah.
It's this 10-year-old boy. And so I blogged about that. And then I blogged about those kind of things. And I feel like the blog is a real key communication piece, and especially in this issue. So
cool. Well, tweet it out if you decide to actually get it tattooed.
I'll tweet it. I'll tweet it.
Okay.
I'll tweet it.
Love it.